I'm Patrick Bailey with whiteboardcoder.com. Today is November 23rd, 2020. And in this video, I'll be going over the first part of installing my Paver patio in my backyard. The digging, the compacting, and building the base. And before you watch this video, if this is the first video you're watching and you're planning on doing your own Paver patio, go watch some professionals. There's some great videos on YouTube, and some of the ones I like a lot. And also it's good to watch a few to build your confidence to kind of understand what the process is. So some of the ones I like a lot by Stanley Dirt Monkey. I can't pronounce his last name. Ganadak. And here's a few. I'll put links in the show notes. So installing brick paver, start to finish, day 2. How to install paver patios, walks, and driveways. Same guy. And also there's another one out there. This old house. That was a good video out there too. I'll put those links in the show notes. But also go out there and watch all these videos. Watch some other videos. Build your confidence. Understand what's going on. So. Okay, now the paver patio I've planned out is going to be 12 feet by 32 feet roughly. So pretty big paver patio as far as I'm concerned. Now to do it, you got to do a lot of calculations. You got to make sure your thing is sloping away. That's why you need to watch some of these videos. Make sure you're sloping right so the rain comes off. Make sure, in my case, I have to do stairs to make sure that I'm doing the right depth so those stairs will match when I put them in. A lot of things I had to do. Now what I did is I did 5 inches of base. And then 3/4 inches of sand on top of that. Now, some people do 6 inches. I did 5. Some people do 1 inch of sand. I did 3/4 inch. So, and it's, I think it seems to work out. So now what I did is I got 9 tons. To get that 5 inch of base, I ordered 9 tons, which was not quite enough. I had to go back and get a little bit more. So I suggest getting 10 tons if you're doing 5 inches of base and as big, you can do the calculations, 12 feet by 32 feet. Also, I got 2 tons of sand, and that seemed to work out pretty good. So the base, it cost me about $126. The sand cost me $53.90. Plus, I got it delivered, which was about $250. But I think you can get a cheaper delivery. But when I got it delivered, I got all my paver delivered and all this stuff, and so it gets more complicated. So all in, just for that material, was about $429. Now, also, I did, to help me level things out, I did go get a black steel pipe, a 3/4 inch. Because I did it layer by layer. I did inch layer, inch layer, inch layer as I built it up. An inch compact, inch compact. Now 3/4 inch steel pipe, that's the inner diameter. The outer diameter is roughly about 1 inch, and that worked for me. And you'll see it in some of the videos. I have this big steel pipe, and it worked pretty well. Also, I had to go rent a compactor. I took a half week off of work, so I worked the mornings. I took the whole afternoon off, and I spent the whole week working. I was hoping I could get the whole thing done, but not quite enough time. So I rented a compactor for the entire week, which was $425. But I also had to come back and rent it one more time for one day to do the pavers on top and do the sand. But that's a whole another video, another story. So total in was about $948.86 for the digging, the compacting, and the rental. So roughly about $1,000. And I'll be doing more videos, and I'll have more details on the entire cost of my patio. But for right now, there's that cost. So with that, let's go over the details, the digging and whatnot.
Okay, so I'm sure there's more videoing to come on this, but this is where we're putting our back porch, our paver patio, I should say. I keep saying porch when I should say patio. If you can see these lines that go all the way down here, that's how big the patio is going to be. It's a rather big patio. And we have all the gravel, we have all the pavers. So now we're trying to dig down to an appropriate level. So where you can see some of these lines, like this line right here, that's roughly where the paver is going to be. Top of the paver. And based on our calculations, we're doing 5 inches of gravel base, and then 3/4 inch of sand to, what do they call it? Fine sand that's been washed and cleaned, and that's what you use to actually put your pavers on. And then we have the pavers, which is 2 3/8 inch. But you pound it down a little bit, so you only actually count the 2 inches. So overall, from this line, we have to go down 7 3/4 inches. And so what we've been doing is we've already dug down a little bit, the whole thing. And now we're coming, but I kind of want to go carefully and kind of get it close before we put the gravel in. So now we're going back and being a little more careful and getting the last little bit done. And so we're kind of done up to about here right now. And trying to get that 7 3/4. So what we're doing, first of all, I don't advise doing this. It's hard because we're doing it by hand. I would advise getting get a machine in here, do it. You could probably do it in an hour if you had a Bobcat. But I'm a glutton for punishment, so I'm doing it by hand. So what we've done is we've got lines in the middle and on the sides that measure where we want to go 7 3/4 inch down. So what I've done, and also this is sloping down, so we're actually sloping down. Some people recommend doing a 1/4 inch slope, so in other words 1 inch every 4 feet. We're doing 1/8 inch, so every 8 feet we're doing 1 inch. Depends on who you talk to. People recommend different things. We're going for 8 inch slope. And also some people have a 6 inch base. We have a 5 inch base. So it depends on where you live and what people recommend. Anyway, so what we're doing to get it close, and we're not looking for perfection. I got an 8 inch board here. And for those who don't know, 2x4s, 2x6s, 2x8s aren't actually the exact measurement they are named. A 2x4 is actually, 1 3/4 by 2 by 3.5, and a 2x8 is actually 7 1/4 inch wide. We want 7 3/8, so what I'm using this to kind of measure things out. So what I'm doing is I'm coming here underneath here. It's okay to have a little gap because I have a little bit further I want to go. So what I'm doing is I'm digging, and then I'm using this in between to kind of get accurate, close enough. But here, like I just dug here, and I can go under here, and you can see I'm hitting my line. Or over here, I'm above the line over there. So I kind of dig down a little bit. I see where my lines, where I'm not kind of hitting it, and I see where my lumps are, and then I come back out and get all my fun tools and, slowly work it all down. So I'm slowly working it all down. That's our plan for today and probably tomorrow. And then once we get this all nice and pretty close to where we want, then we got to do the compactor stuff, and then we got to do the gravel stuff. There's a lot of work ahead, but this is the worst part. So I think we got about 40, by my rough estimate, I got to fill about 40 wheelbarrows left full of dirt to get all this out, which is quite a bit, especially when you're going slow. But that's our plan for the next few days.
Okay, so I made this section. I did a time lapse of all the digging, and I tried to speed it up really quickly here. I don't want to take up too much time, but because sometimes there's some valuable information just sitting there looking at how someone dug and what they did. So there's a little bit here for those who may be interested. If not, just skip ahead to the next section right after this time lapse.
What we have done is we have this paver patio, which is about roughly 12 feet by 32 feet. We've measured it all out. We've done all this stuff. And what we have is we have these lines, which this is roughly where the pavers will end up. In fact, it'll be about 3/8 inch over that. And we need to dig down from this line 7 3/4 inch, because what we're doing, and people do different things, is we're doing 5 inches of gravel, 5 inches of road base kind of stuff. Some people do 6, we're doing 5, and we're doing 3/4 inch sand on top of that. Now some people do 1 inch, some people do 3/4, so see what you want out there and what your needs are for your area. It might be different. And then also our slope. We are sloping down from our house, and we're also sloping this way. So where my wife is standing, who's my film crew, is the tallest spot, and over there on that corner will be the lowest spot. And right now we're doing a 1/8 to roughly a 1/4 inch pitch, depending on where we're at. And for those who don't know what that means, right now, if it's 1/8 inch pitch, for every 8 feet, you go down 1 inch. If you're doing a 1/4 inch pitch, for every 4 feet, you go down 1 inch. And so roughly, I don't know the numbers right in my head, but I want to say that corner over there is 5.5 inches lower than this over here. But don't quote me on that. I have to go look at my math again. But a lot of people you see recommend 1/4 inch pitch. A few recommend 1/8 inch. We're kind of in between. So look at that when you do it, when you're doing what you're doing. because you want the water to go away, off and not into your house, especially here in Colorado. So we got that going. So now our next step, well, let's see, the other things is right where we have our here's our step. We're going to have to put a couple steps in. We have a couple of steps we have, which we're going to be using the Yukara system for that, which we'll show as we do it. And then down here we'll have our patio, paver patio. And then over there we have a fence in our backyard that someone put in finally. I was going to do it, but I paid someone. He did a great job. And I have a couple steps going down there out into that door. And that's our whole plan. And then also, somewhere, you'll see when we get there, somewhere about here, we have some future plans for a fire pit, but we're not exactly doing it right now. So what we're going to do is I have a 3-inch pipe that I'm going to have center here and actually go out both ways. One reason, out here, we're going to go out here and come up so that I can run a gas line, a propane gas line. So nothing special. So I can run it up here, have it pop up, and I can get a relatively inexpensive propane fire pit. And then in the future, we'll have another one going out here to hopefully future-proof myself for 20 bucks. Because someday I want to do a natural gas line, and I don't want to dig up my whole patio. So the idea is someday they can route a whole gas line down here, come up through here and pop up. We'll see how that happens. Give me 2 or 3 years, right? Also, with this paver patio, we're going to have a wall. And I'll show that in some other video. There'll be a wall here, a seating wall. There'll be a seating wall right here at this corner and come around over here to roughly about halfway. So this nice seating area, which will be, I think it'll look pretty good. So, for now, what we got to do, the next steps, is to compact. So we rented this compactor, and I'm a little leery, so I actually rented it for the whole week because I'm crazy. I thought they would run out, but I went to the store at Home Depot and they had lots. So maybe I overdid it, but I rented it for the whole week because I want to compact it. Then we put the gravel down, we compact the gravel, and also I need to compact some of the sides. Some of these sides, if you're familiar with this area, some of the side that's been done before, it's like brick. This stuff is tough as nails. Some of the stuff, though, I have dug up before, so it's not quite as nice. So I may have to go over and compact some edges, too. So we'll see how that goes. So that's the beginning of our plans. The next thing is running the compactor over this. Okay, now for the fun part. We actually ran this for a few seconds just to do it. There's not a whole lot of compaction needed at this level. It is pretty much, it's pretty rock solid. But I do want to run it over, make sure I'm good. So, we got this guy from Home Depot. Now, one thing, unfortunately, did not have is they did not have an under padding. There are some under paddings that hook on the front here and hook underneath, which you don't need for this, you don't need for the gravel, but it's nice to have for the pavers because you want to run this over the pavers too. And without that, you increase the chance of cracking in them, is my understanding. But we have lots of old remnant carpet, so we're thinking about putting remnant carpet under it when we do that. So anyway, we have this, and according to him, that's slow, that's fast for the vibration. We have an on-off switch here, which I need to turn on. And then we just fire this up and run for a little bit. Dragging itself, I guess. Done. Okay. Okay, so where we are right now, we have used the compactor to compact the base, which really didn't need much, but we did throw some more sand out there in certain spots where it was a little low, and it kind of evened things out, so not too bad. And then we also did build up this side, and we built up that side, a couple inches that we need to do, and we compacted it. We did several runs over there, and it's pretty firm, but what I have done is, since I do need to bring rock in here, it's firm enough to walk on, but I'm afraid the weight of a wheelbarrow on the one wheel might dig in a little bit, so I put these boards on there to spread the weight out. And it's working fine so far. So what we're doing right now, which we actually messed up on, didn't think about it. I watched a couple videos and some of the good ideas they had. And I'd seen this idea for months with the putting down, some kind of tube like a PVC pipe, or in this case with a metal pipe, for the sand level. But I think it's a really good idea for us non-professionals to do this at the rock level so we can get that built up really well before we even get to the sand, because I have a slope here. I don't want to have to correct things later. So what we're doing right now is we picked up some 1-inch and some 3/4 inch metal pipe, 10 feet long, but I wasn't thinking it was the inside diameter, not the outside diameter. Luckily for me, the 3/4 inch pipe is about 1 inch, So we're using that right now. So we have metal pipe with a 10-foot piece and a 6-foot piece, so we can actually cover the distance. And then what I'm doing, we have our string back in the middle. And what we did is we put two of them there. We had one here, and we had one here. And we measured them and tweaked them so they were roughly, the base is 7 3/4. We want to come up 1 inch. And then just 1 inch first of all. So we measured from each thing and roughly got 6 3/4, 1 inch minus off 7 3/4. And that worked really well. And then we put that in there, and then we used this, we pushed back and forth to get it all nice and smooth. That worked out pretty well. So now we're doing the same thing over here. And so you can see I wasn't quite right over here, so I had to dig out a little bit. So I dug out a little bit to get this. So this first layer will help us even up things pretty well. And then the next layer we're going to, like, we're not actually going strict on 6 3/4. We're kind of getting close, like 6.5, 6 a little bit. And then we'll do better on the next layer. Because we have 5 inches to go. This is inch 1. We got 4 more inches after this of base before we get to the sand. So we're going to work our way bit by bit and dumping this. Sorry, I forgot that. Also, once we get these layers done, we're going to take the pipe out like we did here and fill it back in. And once we get the whole first layer done, then we're going to come back and use the compactor and hit the compactor on the whole thing and make it nice and compact. And we're going to do that every inch, which I'm pretty sure is overkill, but I want to overkill it because I got the time. Okay, so we got our first layer down and compacted last night, and it looks pretty good. So now we're working on, well, we're about to start on the second layer, but what we did first is I put this pipe in, which I may have mentioned before. So this is my cheap future fire pit thing. So we don't have the budget for the fire pit this year, but I would hate to, someday when we put a gas line in from our house down here, natural gas line, I'm going to have to take all these pavers up, which is going to be a pain in the neck. So I did talk to a contractor who was doing some work over here on another fire pit, and I asked about this suggestion and to see if it seemed like a good idea. And he's like, oh, that's not a bad idea. So what I have done is I put this pipe in, which is going to be well below my line, so it will be covered. And it's got two sides. So it's got this side, which I'm going to probably use now, because I might go get a cheap fire pit that's propane. And so I'm going to run from there. I'll pop that cap off, run a cable down here, propane, cable, and then come up here, and here I'll have a paver, which I'll cut a hole in. So I'll have a paver that I can cut a hole in and bring that up, and then I'll have the fire pit over it. And that's probably what we'll do temporarily. I might get one by Christmas, but in the future, I would abandon that line and have someone bring a natural gas line all the way around and over to this side. And I know right now it's going up, but in the future it would go sideways. And they could feed that natural gas line just like that up here and feed up through there. And I'm pretty sure that will work. Worst case, I just lost $20 worth of money on this attempt, and we'll have to remove the tiles. But it's the year 2020. It's October 2020. Give me 2 years. If you're watching this video and it's 2022 or 2023, ask me.
1 inch layers at a time, compacting,
I'll probably have done a video by now on that if I have.
1 inch layer, compacted, 1 inch layer, compacted.
Give me a couple years, we'll probably get that.
And
but that's what we're doing.
It wasn't made clear so far in the video.
There we go. So now on the next step, we're on the next inch. And now that we have had this feels really nice and firm.
That they were the right length
get a little closer,
from
so I put those pipes
strings
in.
I hung
and now
over.
It's a little easier to build them up and build them down.
Those were actually measured correctly. They actually sloped down correctly how I wanted to do
it's
the 1 inch pitch. It's
a little easier to measure. So some of those I dug down a little bit, some I raised a little bit.
As I put those pipes
better at nailing the number.
I kept moving and adjusting to make sure that they were exactly where they should be measured down from the top.
To the sand.
And so here, I'm just putting this time lapse in. So I did a bunch of time lapse in every single layer as we compacted it. So
get the whole thing
here's a
done.
long time lapse, and the rest of the video just going to be the end of the time lapse. So watch it or don't.
On the next step.
Thanks for watching. I hope you liked the video. If you did, please give it a like. To subscribe, just click the subscribe button. Also, you can follow me on Twitter under the handle @whiteboardcoder.com. View any code I may have thrown up as a gist at GitHub under the username PatmanDenver, or check out my blog site at whiteboardcoder.com.